Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, y'all. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday to everybody. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about a lady by the name of Maryann Bevan. She was born in December of 1874 and was one of 8 children. Now, before I get too far into this, I'd like to go into a little description first of what Miss Bevan suffered from. She and we'll get I'll get into a little more detail a little bit later how this part of it came about. But she won the label of being the homeliest woman in the world, or the ugliest woman in the world, a long time ago. And she had a issue called acromegaly. Now you've got acromegaly, and then you have something else called gigantism. They don't necessarily work in tandem with an individual. Usually what'll happen is gigantism, and what that is obviously if you're not familiar with the term, it's when the people that are very, very, very tall. And it's caused by something called hyperplasia in the pituitary gland, which is the pituitary gland controls your hormones. And you have like an excessive amount of the growth hormone when you have gigantism. And this happens when you're a kid, when you're growing up, when your growth plates aren't fused yet. This is what makes people grow very, very, very tall. And this, like I said, would happen when you're a kid. Once your growth plates fuse, then you quit growing tall. Okay, and then you can go into what's called what Miss Bevan suffered from, which is the acromegaly. This also results from excessive growth hormone, but it's after the growth plates have fused. Okay, so what happens with this is you're not growing taller because of it, but it makes it, what will first affect is your hands and feet. It makes your hands and feet bigger. There may also be enlargement of the forehead, jaw, and nose. And you may have further symptoms that may include joint pain, thicker skin, and deepening of the voice, headaches, and problems with vision. And if that wasn't enough, as it is, if that wasn't bad enough, you may also develop type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, and high blood pressure. The onset of the acromegaly tends to be in the middle age range. And like I said, like the gigantism, which affects you in childhood. And the acromegaly is also caused by issues with the pituitary gland, producing too much growth hormone. And in more than 95% of the cases of the excess production is due to a benign tumor known as a pituitary adenoma. Now, it's also, this, just for the record, it's not something that you inherit from your parents. So, I mean, I guess that would be good. On the upside, I mean, if you were to have had children before you knew you had this problem, at least that would be something there. Now, today, these things are very treatable. You know, they can find, now, you know, and two, it also depends on when they realize that you have this. If it goes so long being untreated, your chances of treatability decline with the amount of time that it has gone by being untreated. But as long as it's diagnosed in pretty short order, and you can treat it with surgery to remove the tumor, you can be given medication and radiation therapy, but at the time, unfortunately, when this happened to Miss Bevan, when it kicked in, she was in her early 30s, so it was around, you know, the late 1910s when it started affecting her, when things were noticed, like her hands and stuff were getting bigger. Now, and so today, your lifespan would not be greatly affected if this was found early enough as well. Let's see, And there's some notable people, some very recently, some over time, some older people that would have had this problem, and a lot of people you might very well be familiar with. I'll have some pictures in the video, various points of these people also. Andre the Giant. If you've ever seen, like, him holding his hand up in comparison to other people's hands, for instance. I mean, obviously he was a very big man, but his hands were just absolutely off the chart huge. Paul Benedict, the actor, he played Bentley on the Jeffersons, the British neighbor. A guy that goes by the stage name Big Show. He's a wrestler and an actor. Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch on the TV show Addams Family. And then also this Dutch guy, Carel. I was going to look up how to pronounce his name. I can never quite get it out right. Carel Struycken. I'm probably massacring his name. I apologize. Please correct me in the comments if you know how to pronounce his name correctly. And among other things, he played Lurch in the Addams Family movies. And he's in all sorts of other movies also, too. I can remember, I think he was in Witches of Eastwick, too. I remember that. Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker. Neil McCarthy, who's an actor. Antonio Silva, an MMA fighter. Richard Kiel, an actor that he was a very prominent actor in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He was in a few James Bond movies as Jaws, the guy with the metal stuff on his teeth, and he was also in Happy Gilmore, one of my favorite actors. And then another wrestler that was on WWE called the Great Khali. He's Indian. So you have a lot of notable people over the years that have had this, and that's not even all of them that I found listings of. Those were just the ones that I recognized from different things. So yeah, a lot of people that were able to these days, that having this problem did not, I'm sure on a health level it was affecting them, but they were able to have a very prominent career in some way, shape, or form. Another guy, Maryann, the Chinese basketball player. He's 7'4", I think, something like that. He's over 7 foot. Again, he had a very successful basketball career, and the fact that he was so successful and so agile for being such a tall person. Also, that's if you've just being able to be as athletic as he is was pretty amazing. Being that big. Okay, so we've kind of discussed what the differences are with gigantism and acromegaly. Miss Bevans, she, up until this point, prior to the acromegaly starting to set in, she looked completely normal. She was very attractive. There was nothing outwardly unusual or different about her in a negative way or anything like that. She was very pretty. She, got married. She had a job as a nurse. She had 4 kids. She was doing well. Like I said, she came from a large family she's one of 8 children. She lived from the East London area. Now, it was several years into her marriage when the acromegaly started affecting her, and things started becoming obvious, when things started changing with her face and hands and stuff. Well, fortunately, her husband was enormously supportive and was loved her a lot, was very supportive, took care of her, was very agreeable with when she decided that she had gotten to a point she would rather be at home and not work, for her physical comfort, because you start getting to a certain point with the way that this affects you, you're going to start being in pain. And then too, it was at a time when, you're still going to have people probably not being very nice now. I mean, I can't imagine how that might have affected her back then. Would people have been more likely to be not nice to her then, maybe, and basically you had no protections as far as employment, whether your current job being protected or just being able to not be affected by being not hired, being discriminated against because of this medical condition that you have that you can't help. She could not find a job. So, but it worked out all right because her husband was okay with her staying at home. She could stay at home and take care of the kids, and he was perfectly fine with that and had no problem with it. Unfortunately, though, her husband ended up dying in 1914. So this was about 3 years into the acromegaly affecting her when this happened. But now she's got 4 kids to take care of and the inability to get a job. And it would have been hard for her to work anyway. Well, and then a very unlikely thing happened. There was a contest that she came across put on by Claude Bartram. He was the European agent of Barnum and Bailey Circus, and he was putting on the homeliest woman in the world contest, basically looking for the ugliest woman. Okay, so here's her chance. So she thinks, okay, she's owning the fact she obviously clearly knows what she looks like, but her options are extraordinarily limited as far as what she can do. And since her husband died, she has to do something. She has to be able to support her and her family. So she enters this contest, and she ends up being offered a job with a circus in the U.S. Ultimately, they offered her £10 a week. Traveling expenses were covered, and they would have these like picture postcards that they would sell, basically like these sideshow, freak show kind of places where you could buy these postcards of all the different people that they had there. The bearded woman, the homeliest woman that she was labeled as. All the different people, the midgets, the very, very overweight people would have these picture postcards. So she was told, in addition to the £10 a week and the traveling expenses covered, she would get the proceeds from the sale of the picture postcards. She was such a sought after person in this sideshow atmosphere. When she went to America in 1920, she was there for between like 2 or 3 years. She made £20,000 in that amount of time. Now that's the equivalent to about £500,000 in today's money, and that's by like 1923, which is wholly significant as far as the fact that she was able to make that much money, and it afforded her a more comfortable lifestyle. It afforded her the ability to support her children. She was able to send her kids. She was able to bring her kids to America and send all 4 of her children to boarding school. So she was able to take care of her kids and then some, which I think it's really awesome, and it's great that she was able to make the best out of a bad situation, which I'm sure I can't even imagine what it would have been like back then to have this problem and to be different, and not even, she looked different, but not even in the strangest, weirdest, or maybe not even the most awful way that you could look different. Sure, there are certainly, I think, probably a lot of other things I would have maybe dreaded happening to me more so than that. It could have been, I guess, it could have been worse, but still, this back then was bad for her. But she still managed to persevere, and she still managed to carve out a good life for her and her kids. And there was a doctor that had attempted, he was a neurosurgeon that had attempted to help her with her condition, but there wasn't enough known about the acromegaly at the time to be able to treat it, unfortunately. And it was this neurosurgeon called Dr. Cushing. And he also stood up for Maryann at a time when Life magazine published a very unflattering story about her. And he stuck up for her, which is really fantastic. And it's really nice to see because, again, hearing about something like this with a person thinking, how hard things must have been for her, and it may have, how hard was it for her to have people that would have stood up for her at a time. I mean, you would hope people would, but to have somebody in such a pronounced way stand up for was fantastic. It was really, really nice. Now, and this is not that long ago that this happened. It was back in 2006. The Hallmark cards had used her picture on a greeting card those what you expect and what you get kind of comparison photos of, you're going on a date, your first date with the person from Tinder, and what you expect and what you get, the two pictures kind of thing. And so they had the what you expect, the cute girl, and then they have the what you get, and it's this picture of Maryann Bevan, which, and the poor lady, even decades and decades after her death, she is long gone, and you've got Hallmark basically making fun of her, but there was a guy that came forward. I saw two different names attributed to this and two different things I watched. One of them was Robert Knutson. Was the CEO of the Pituitary Network Association, and one thing that I watched that's attributed this to him. And there may have been a couple of people, but this is the one that I saw at first that said that he had called Hallmark to task for what they said about her, because, doing what he did, he was very familiar with Maryann Bevan's case and her life and what happened to her. And, the pictures, if you're going to be familiar with certain things, it's pictures that you're going to very readily recognize. That's who that is. So he took them to task, and after he sent them a rather politely correct, scathing letter, calling the card into question, and that they shouldn't have done that. That's not very nice. This is somebody with an actual medical problem that they can't help. To which Hallmark actually did pull the card off the market, so that was good. But it was unfortunate that it got to that point. Maybe they thought, nobody's gonna know who this lady is. This happened 100 years ago. Nobody's gonna know who this is. It's just gonna be a picture. It's just gonna be this random person to everybody else. So surely just thought it wasn't going to be anybody that anybody was going to make an issue about. And, and this guy didn't have to do that, and I think it was really good, because there are, to this day, obviously, people that still suffer from that problem. And surely that is, I hope we're all more socially evolved now these days. I wish we were more socially involved sometimes than I think we are, but I think today we understand a lot more about all these medical problems that, people have absolutely no control over. Yet you still have to go out and work and live your life and do things like everybody else does. Go to the doctor's appointments, go out to eat, and, we should all, none of us are perfect. None of us live in a glass house. Or we should not treat people that can't help what's happened to them in that sense. So, like I said, I'm going to add some pictures in the video here of what she looked like before, when she was younger, when things started affecting her, what it ended up making her look like, and stuff like that. And I think this is a really, really nice. A nice ending to, at least, that she was able to, even though she still managed to live until she was 59 years old, even though they weren't able to really treat it, and she was able to take care of her kids, which I think, in the larger sense of what was going on with her, at least she was able to have on at least some level some dignity to be able to support her family and take care of herself. All right, so that's it for today. And thank you for stopping in and listening to me talk again. I always appreciate it. And y'all have a great Wednesday, and hopefully I'll see you in about a week at the latest with another video. So like, subscribe, mash all those buttons, do our YouTube trifecta, hit the notification bell, and blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.